right now, the time is 7:08 p.m. Wednesday, September 9, 2020. I'd like to call the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting to order. First point on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Anyone?
It's Joanne. I'll make the motion.
Joanne. First point on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
It's Joanne. I'll make the motion.
Joanne. First point on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in. Linda, do you mind muting your mic just because we're getting a rebound?
Hi.
Go ahead, John. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Second by
Councillor Gilliland.
Councillor. Thank you. Any comments or questions on the agenda? Anyone? I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So that carries. Second item, declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Are there any declarations tonight? All right. A receipt of the minutes. May I please have a motion to receive the minutes of June 10th, 2020? And
Aye. Councillor Gilliland.
okay. Second by?
Aye, Matthew.
Matthew, thank you. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Everyone had a chance to go through it? Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, that carries. Delegations. We have no delegations this evening. Is that
None.
right?
Correct.
No,
Sorry?
no delegations.
Okay. Excellent. As for consideration, so I guess at first we have quite a bit of an agenda tonight. First one would be the United Church, 15186 Yonge Street. Yeah, that's Yonge and Temperance and Tyler. So item number one is a memorandum regarding the application for site plan amendment. This is the fourth submission for the Aurora United Church at 15186 Yonge Street. Be received. And that number two, the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on the site plan application.
Can we just have it moved to be approved?
To approve, or do we receive as information?
Are you not going to do a little
Comment?
or presentation on this, Matt?
Yeah, but don't you have to bring it to the table or Linda, maybe jump into on this, but I don't know if I just go right away or if it has to be brought to the table first. Linda, are you there?
Yeah.
I don't know if I just go right away or if it has to be brought to the table first.
Well,
Someone want to put it on the floor?
Yeah, put it on the floor first.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
I'll put it on the floor.
Is that Councillor?
Yep.
Yep.
Seconder?
Haley.
Anyone? Haley, great, thank you. Okay, Matt, go ahead with it.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So this is actually the fourth submission of the Yonge Church that we've been looking at. What I will do is just provide a quick note on the comments that we received or that we provided last time to the developer between site application 2 and 3. All of our comments were noted. There was no pushback from the developer. We had quite an extensive ask list. We had some crosswalks in there. We asked for accessible seating in the building. We made sure that there was accessible public access through all doorways. So we had no pushback on any of the previous comments. And so for this one, I had no comments to add on as it is the fourth submission. And we have already provided 3 pretty long and extensive requirements basically from the committee, and we had no pushback on any of the items. So this will be one of the easier ones that we go through today. Just wanted to put it first on there just to see if there is anything additional that we really want to add on to this specific site plan application, but I had no issues with it moving forward.
Any other comments from anyone?
Not looking like anything, John.
Okay, so I guess we'll just go with that. We need to vote on it, I guess, as we move forward. Is that how it works?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? So that carries. Second item is second submission, site plan on 125 Englehart Drive, Luxury Railings Limited. So that the memorandum regarding the site plan, second submission, 125 Englehart Drive, Luxury Railings, be received. That the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on the site plan.
I'll put
So
that on the
motion
floor.
to- All right, Counselor. Seconder?
Joanne, I'll second it.
Joanne? Okay. Matt?
Yep, thank you very much. So this site application, again, it's a second submission. So we have with the developer on all the site plan applications that we'll be looking at today, and the comments were all addressed in this case. So in this one, we had some issues with the exterior path of travel, not meeting the minimum requirements. They did address that, and they have moved it to the 1.5 meters. Let me open up the site plan so you guys can see it. Sorry, I'm just jigging with a couple of screens here all at the same time. So this is going to be a food processing plant, which is going to have a future outdoor storage. Are you guys able to see my mouse as I move along the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's how I'll kind of guide this. So over here on this area, you'll see this is going to be a future proposed outdoor space. It is not currently a part of the site application, but this will be coming in future phases. So this is the proposed building that we're looking at. We did have one issue, like I was mentioning, we had the 1.5 meter addressed for this exterior path of travel where you see my mouse running along the edge of the building. This would be the only path of travel with entrances coming into the proposed building. They did address the seating as well. They mentioned that there is going to be seating on the exterior path of travel, allowing for people to have rest areas along the building as it is quite long. For counters and the universal washrooms, they also had no issues with that. Now that falls under the Ontario Building Code. And so there are minimum requirements for universal washrooms. So they have to address it regardless, but they had no issues with it to begin with. I did have one comment to add on to the first submission comments that we had over here. I think they jigged the parking requirements very slightly. They had an amendment to the number. And so they need to actually increase the barrier-free parking that is required. So currently, as you can see over here on the mouse, we have 2 spots by the beginning of the building, and then we have another 2 spots taking us up to 4. 5 is the minimum requirement in this site plan application based on the numbers of parking that they have provided. And so that is the only comment that I have added in. Let me show you the elevation pictures so you guys just have an idea of what the building looks like. So on the top level over here, this would be the front facing of the building where the community be coming through the public entrance doors. These are the loading docks, the second 2 pictures. And so we wouldn't have public access over here. This would just be strictly for cargo vans and trucks bringing in the goods. And so this final picture is a proposal of the interior of the building. And so over here, you can see we have some office space in the bottom right corner. And so this is where we were originally talking about providing the accessible counters or space for individuals to come in. If they do decide to propose and have an actual customer service desk, that would be something that they would be adding in. And again, they had no issues with that. And so I will return to the main site plan and then see if the committee has any additional comments they would like to add in, or if there's any questions regarding the site plan. Go ahead.
Anyone?
Take your time, take a look at it. If you need me to zoom it in at all, I know it might be difficult for you guys to see it on your screen. I don't know if you have a second screen to kind of visibly see the site plan applications, but let me know if you need me to help you guys out with navigating this site plan. And just so everyone's aware, this is actually located on 125 Englehart Drive. So this is a plaza that's being put in on Industrial. So very close to the GW school, GW Williams School. It's on Industrial over there. Just so you can orient yourself where this is going in Aurora.
What page is it on the actual agenda?
This is on page
11, is that 11?
It's on page 11. Yep. So 11, 12, and 13, you would have the different drawings for main site plan application, elevated drawings, and then the interior would be on the last page.
My only concern, I know this is a long building, so you will need rest areas, but I don't know if a rest area would be good here because it might block the exterior path of travel.
Yep. So I'll just rephrase Max's comments just in a shorter form so everyone got it. Max was mentioning that the exterior path of travel, because it's kind of in the 1.5 meter range, the rest areas that might be associated that we've provided on this site plan might impede people's exterior path of travel. Did I get that right, Max?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I can do is speak to the developer and just make sure that where the actual seating is provided, that the minimum width is still maintained. I would assume that the developer knows that as they're putting these rest areas in, because they just have to follow that according to the design of public spaces. But I will add that comment in, Max.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job, Max.
Is there any other comments from any of the members? I think that's it then, John.
So we have to make a motion to go forward with comments?
Yep.
And Max, anybody to make that motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Joanne? And Matt, I guess?
Yeah.
Matthew? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I'm just printing everything up so I can see it actually.
Yep.
So the next item, 6.3, memorandum from the site plan application. This is Addison Business Park, 110 and 450 Addison Hall Circle, blocks 21, 22. So item number 1 is that the memorandum regarding the site plan application for Addison Hall Business Park, 110 and 450 Addison Hall Circle, to be received, and then the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on the site plan. So can I get someone to receive that as information?
Matthew.
Anyone? Matthew, seconder?
Haley.
Haley? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Oh, I guess we just go right through it, right? Okay, so sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, John. Okay, so this again is a second submission for 110 and 450 Addison Hall Circle. Just as a reminder, this is actually a development plaza, and so you'll have a couple of different businesses coming into this park at some point. This is actually on the 404 plaza, right along the Walmart area on the northern side. So much of us haven't probably seen this area just because it's still underneath development, but that's where it would be situated. As you can see, can everyone see on the screen the site plan? Just want to make sure before I continue.
Yeah.
Perfect. So again, the applicant had no issues with our previous comments. All of them were addressed and responded positively. And so we asked for crosswalks to be provided on both the west and east side of the specific plaza. And so you can see connecting to the exterior path of travel along the actual street of Addison. We have a crosswalk leading into the west side of the building. And again, from the accessible parking actually on the east side, you have it connecting to the exterior path of travel. So they did meet both those requirements that we asked for, which was nice. The sidewalk width, we also spoke to and mentioned that it wasn't meeting the 1.5 meter requirement. And so they have addressed that. And then finally, they actually relocated the bicycle rack. Originally, as you can see with my mouse, I'm pointing it up in the top left side of the corner. That's the original placement of the bicycle rack on the specific site plan. They've actually moved it over here, right in the block of the path of travel. It does not impede the 1.5 meters. And so, or sorry, it is right over here. I wish I could highlight it for you guys, but it's actually right next to the parking, if you guys can see that. It's those little lines. And so this all along over here is actually landscaping. This is not a path of travel, just so you guys can orient yourself with the site plan. This is all landscaping. We have a bike path over here, or bike rack, apologize. And then this is our path of travel into the building. And then this is all exterior path of travel along the front entrance. And then again, nothing along the side leading to the back. There's no entrances regardless over there, so nothing is being impeded in terms of accessibility. I did make the one comment that I suggested basically that they look at the landscaping over here on the west side, because we do have parking running along there rather than having pedestrians basically walk along the road. I asked for consideration that they do turn this into an exterior path of travel. This is a recommendation. They do not technically have to, by the Public Design of Spaces, Highway Traffic Act, as far as I'm aware, have to create this into an exterior path of travel. And so I put that as a consideration for them on the second application. But that was the only comment I had specifically for this site plan. Let me just drop down and make sure there's nothing else for you guys to see. Nope. And so as you can see, here are my comments. Consideration for the west landscaping along the building to be converted into an exterior path of travel. And so I didn't have any further comments past that for this specific site plan. And so I will open up the floor to the committee to have any suggestions or further consideration for the applicant. And take your time, take a look, ask questions if you have any.
So if I may, I remember this application coming in, and we addressed the entrances on the east side and the west side. And I see that they've accommodated us, and especially crossing the street to First Commerce to Addison Hall Circle. It seems like they kind of done what I think that everybody's asked for. I don't know if there's something that's been missed, but
yeah,
it looks good to me.
They addressed all of our comments. Like I said, no issues with it. This is a fairly easy site plan application. It's just it's a business lot, and so really there isn't much for them to screw up, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it just, at least that they listened, and we had some good feedback about that crossover, especially at First Commerce. I know that they didn't have anything.
Yep.
And so I'm happy to see that it just did it. And, you know, thankfully our committee was keen to notice that, and they responded. So it looks good. I don't know what you guys think.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other comments?
Motion to go forward with that? Someone like to make a motion, please?
I'll make the motion. Council.
I'll second it.
Is that Matthew?
Yep.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item. Site plan submission. Sorry. 150 Addison Hall Circle, Block 12. So the memorandum regarding the site plan application for 150 Addison Hall Circle, Block 12, be received, and then the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on the site plan. Can I get a motion for someone to receive, please?
Joanne, I'll make the motion.
Joanne, thank you. A seconder?
Rochelle?
Michelle, thank you very much. Matt, can you please
Yep. Thank you, John.
go through it?
Absolutely. And so like John mentioned, this is for 455 Addison Hall Circle. This is the neighbor of the site application that we were actually just looking at. So same location, we're looking at the 404 Plaza behind the Walmart area over there. Like I mentioned, this is the second submission that we're looking for this specific business park. Here's the actual site plan. I'm sure you guys recognize it. And so we did have a couple of comments for this. Overall, the applicant had no issues with any of our suggestions. And so we were mentioning that we were looking for the additional crosswalk to be added. So you can see that's over here in the bottom right corner. The automatic door openers for all public access locations as per the legislation has been addressed, including all of the signage for all of our barrier-free parking. He had no issues, or they had no issues, I apologize, with any of those requests. They did not address our request for additional barrier-free parking along the sides of the building, which is one of the suggestions I made to the committee previously, just to kind of distribute the current barrier-free parking. Now, just to give everyone, I guess, a little bit of a background with barrier-free parking. Generally speaking, parking is allocated the way you see it on the site application, where you have two right next to each other as they share the accessible aisle. So at 1.5 meters of painted pavement between the two parking spots. And so they generally try to keep those together. And so they don't like to distribute them unless they have numerous parking spots to really put on both sides of the building. And so therefore I understand why the applicant rejected this motion. But that being said, they are still short on barrier-free parking. So I reconveyed that message over to the applicant, making sure that they actually still have to add in at least one more barrier-free parking. 4 is the minimum. And then I will continue to kind of work with the planners to see if there is the option of adding them in for units 9 to 14, at least maybe one spot over there. And for 1 to 6, at least one more spot over there. But I will drop down just to make sure there's no other site plans for you to take a look at. Nope. And like I said, in terms of my actual comments, you can see right there, it's just specific to the barrier-free parking, where they have a minimum of 4 that they have to achieve. And so I expect that on the 3rd submission that does get addressed, and hopefully they are able to add in the above the requirements for the other units along the side of this business plaza. And so I will open up the floor to the rest of the committee for comments.
A quick question.
Yep.
Do we have, going back to the allocation of the parking, do we have any jurisdiction as to where they place their barrier-free parking? Because this is definitely not accessible to the majority of the units.
Thank you, Max. And so just to paraphrase for Max, just for the rest of the committee, and Max, correct me if I'm wrong, Max was asking if we have any jurisdiction around where the placement of the barrier-free parking is on a plaza. Correct, Max? Yes, thank you. Thank you. We do have jurisdiction in regards to the placement, in regards to the legislation where it speaks to making sure that it's like almost the shortest path of travel into a building. And so this kind of comes into one of those iffy situations, as we have numerous entrances into numerous businesses. And so I think in this case, they are technically in the there is unit entrances over here. I think we don't have interior drawings for this specific site plan application, but it looks like they have 2 main entrances to kind of get into these units from the inside on both sides of the building. And so the allocated parking has been provided next to those main entrances. And so although, yes, the other buildings will take some traveling to get to, I don't think that we can force them to really shuffle them around just because of that piece on the specific site plan. Now, I don't mind going back asking if they can redistribute them again. But like I said, based on just how barrier-free parking is always built, they're meant to join in on the accessible aisle, just because then you're losing, as soon as you spread those parking spots along a business like this, you're taking up numerous just regular parking spots for other individuals. And so the plaza loses capacity for other individuals to be able to come into these facilities. And so I hesitate with making that a recommendation, and I would almost keep it as, let's have them meet the requirement and see if there's a possibility to just move that required additional spot onto the sides of this building. But I'll leave it to the committee to provide their comments on that.
Joanne?
Go ahead, Joanne.
I'm basically not, I'm just not this one particular, but I've been really hung up with my health issues, and I've had other people having to drive me. And what I've really noticed lately in the parking areas is that they'll have the reserved parking for the people with issues, and then just at one end of maybe 3 parking spots, they have a ramp. And so that means the people have to come across the driveway. They can't get up over a curb. And I just wondered what makes it only that they need 1 when they've got 2, maybe possibly 2 other parking spots.
And so right now, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Joanne, finish off.
Yeah, sorry. If no ramps are moving, I mean, no cars are, they're getting out of their car and they're moving around. They have to go down 3 cars to get up a ramp.
Yep. So it depends on the plaza that we would be speaking on, obviously. And so some plazas will be grandfathered through different pieces of legislation, depending on when they were built and when the developer put in their applications. I know Matthew sends me tons of these sites throughout Aurora, which is great because we got to take a look at them. And so you'll get a variety of differences in terms of whether you'll even have an accessible aisle for the barrier-free parking, whether there is a curb depression with the accessible aisle, whether there is a ramp that goes next to it. And so while the legislation is getting stronger now with those kind of bare minimum requirements, our previous legislations, which is what most of Aurora is kind of built around, may have not mandated for those. But that being said, like we've been doing in the past, and like Matthew's been sending a couple of them and I've been addressing them, is basically if you see a problem, we can try to work with the private applicant or developer to change or alter this. But like I've stated in the past, we have limitations as a municipality forcing these lots to do these kind of things. It really has to come out of their heart to kind of go ahead and spend the money on this until they're forced to through construction to meet the new legislative requirements.
My question for the construction part is the fact that they say that there's, if you do a major construction project, but what do they define as major? Do they define it based on monetary, or do they base it on physical destruction and reconstruction?
So that is one of the loopholes of the legislation as well. And like service animals, as an example, so the way the province, whenever I've spoken to them about this, defines it as basically the legislation looks to be as accommodating as possible. And so they purposely leave some of these gaps. Service animals is a good example where basically the legislation gives you 2 parts, whether it's signed off by medical physician, nurse, or anything along those, or the secondary can be as simple as someone is just wearing a vest. And so that might not be a trained dog, but it can be classified as a service animal because it's just wearing the vest. So that's just a contrast example, but it just shows like there are some loopholes. And so going to your question, Matthew, the legislation doesn't define whether it's monetary, the actual size of the construction project, anything along those lines. So we don't have a definitive line in the sand guiding us saying, yes, this meets the requirements of a major project. This does not meet the requirements. That is why whenever we receive applications for any like retrogrades or anything along those lines, that's our opportunity as the committee to kind of take a look at the application and say, yes, we believe that you should be making these changes, or no, we don't believe you should be making these changes. And so that's where it comes into us and having our recommendations and our discretion. Rachel, Councilor Gilliland.
That's okay.
I saw your hand over there. Go ahead.
No worries. It's just a different observation. So I'm looking at where the orientation of where the 3 spots are now. And I think as a developer, if we're asking for 4, naturally, they're going to put it up probably on the, I'm assuming it's northeast-west orientation. So I'm going to say like the west side or the left side of the one that's existing there based on what you're saying. And just looking at the units and just kind of envisioning that this is a business park and there's going to be stores all the way around this U, would it make more sense to kind of spread out the proximity in the sense of put those 2 barrier-free parking spots like on the other side, like the east side by unit 9. So you're kind of spreading it out. So you're either going to choose to park on one side of the plaza or the other side of the plaza. Because right now they're really close together as far as like the design. I don't know. I'm asking you guys what you guys think, but I just think that if it was kind of, if I had a choice and I was trying to drive in and park and I had to go to unit 14, like it just might be that much more convenient if it was, you know, on the unit 9 side up by there by that main entrance versus it just seems like the other 2 are close. I don't know. I'm just asking for feedback, what you guys think on that.
I kind of agree with you, but I would put them between like 11 and 10 and 4 and 5. Because then that way it's everyone is almost equal distance away from the spots, except for 8 and 7.
Or maybe between 10 and 9 and 5 and 6, just based on the fact of the active transportation, I call it, where all the walkways are and the main throughways per se.
That makes sense.
I'll jump in. I have no issues with that. Like I'm completely okay with moving the spots together. So whatever the committee is happy with, I'm happy with those comments as well. It's not a problem on my end.
Does that middle unit, is a middle unit like you have 7 and 8? Is there like an indoor double door? You know how some of these business parks have?
They didn't give interior
like
drawings.
An indoor. So for all I know, there's like a double door there and you walk in and you have extra units you can access there from the middle. Like I don't know where those triangles are. And so is that the intention that you can walk in through the middle and then you can kind of access all of them there? Because then it makes sense to where they've orientated them.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying at the beginning. I might be like, this is assumption, and this is where I'll ask the applicant to provide us maybe some interior drawings if they have them ready for this site plan. They might not quite yet, but that's what I was mentioning, and I'll highlight it again with the mouse over here. I know it's hard for you guys to see, but this entrance over here and the secondary one over here, I agree might be, because it doesn't look like it's an entrance for unit 7 or 8. It looks like it's almost an entrance into the plaza itself for you to kind of travel between all of these units. But I will ask that question through planning to see if that's the case. And that's what I was saying at the beginning, that it does make sense if they're there for that reason, but we would have to get that clarification. And so I don't mind asking the planners to provide that to us.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would, I mean, I think that would make most sense, understanding where those entrances are, because right now it just seems like, okay, it's really convenient for me to go to 6, 7, 8, 9, but you know, to go anywhere else, it seems rather inconvenient, but maybe it's by design and where those entrances are. Like I look like in the middle, I can't point, but in the middle between 7 and 8, that maybe there's an entrance there. I don't know. And then what it's confusing.
So 7 and 8, I know other people are trying to jump in here, but I'll just clarify for everyone. 7 and 8 do have entrances here, as you can see where my mouse is highlighted right in the middle. And so I don't see, there's not any showing of entrances from the sides over here interior wise. And that's where we have that kind of gap. So I have to figure out what this is, what this entrance is on both of these sides. So I think we can get a more defined answer as a committee. And I don't mind sending out through email and phone call for Joanne to kind of gather that feedback once I hear back from the applicant. And then I know someone else was trying to jump in. I don't know if that was Matthew or someone else, but please go ahead.
It was John. I was thinking of maybe as the face of a clock, right? Have an entrance at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. That'd be the three spots for handicap parking. And the stuff in the middle, that U shape, that's a loading dock, right?
Correct. Yep.
Public generally would not have access to that back area anyway, right?
Correct.
So, like I said, maybe 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, there's 3 handicap spots that would probably cover all those units, right?
Yep. So, like I said, I think let me get the interior design for us to make, I think, a more conclusive decision on what we would like to see with the parking.
Any other questions, comments from anybody? Motion to receive with our comments, or motion to go forward, I guess. Anyone? Matthew,
Max,
seconder?
Max put his
Sorry.
hand up. Max.
Max?
Yeah, he's on mute.
All in favor?
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Motion carried. Matt, can you just, which item are we on now? 6.5?
We are on SP 2020-03. It's another Addison circle.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh, God.
Sorry, which one was that again?
SP 2020-03 Addison circle.
Mm-hmm.
150 Addison Hall Circle, block 12.
Yeah. So that's 6.5 on our agenda, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So site plan for 150 Addison Hall Circle, block 12. Memorandum regarding the site plan application at 150 Addison Hall Circle be received, and that the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on the site plan. Motion to receive. Anyone?
Matthew.
Haley.
Sorry.
Haley, I think, was in there first.
Haley? Okay. Seconder?
Joanne.
Joanne. Okay, perfect. Matt, take it away, please.
Thank you, John. So, like I was mentioning, we have another business lot coming up in Addison Hall Circle. So this is 150. So again, this is on the 404 Plaza. I think this is one of the last ones. I think this is the last one in terms of second submissions. All the other ones moving forward, we're going to be looking at brand new site plans. So bear with me on the old stuff over here. So like I said, this is the second submission for this specific business park. And so I'll go down to the actual site plan application. I'm just going to shrink this down a little bit so you can see the full scope. Everyone can see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And so for this one specifically, for our first submission comments, the crosswalk that we have been asking for the other Addison parks was not addressed. And so originally the committee was asking for a crosswalk to be stationed over here from where the barrier-free parking is located, and that was not provided. Now, like I said, this doesn't fall into our domain in terms of design of public space. So I will leave it to the committee as to whether or not they want to press on this specific issue. But just so you know, in terms of our legislation that we look from on the Accessibility Advisory Committee, it doesn't have anything pertaining actual crosswalks. So I just want to put that note in there before you guys go ahead and make your comments on this piece. They do meet the bare minimum requirements for barrier-free parking. So they have their 3 spots over here. Because it's an odd number, we have 2 type B spots, which are the smaller ones, and then 1 type A, which is the larger spot located over here. They are on the shortest route of travel into the actual building over here. As you can see, this is the main entrance for this industrial building. And so they are meeting that requirement specifically. We had no comments on the actual exterior path of travel going around the building. So follow my mouse over here. You can see it starts on the left corner, goes fully and wraps around the building over here. And so they don't have any exterior path of travel along this side of the building for this specific parking, just to kind of take note for yourselves. And the actual bicycle parking is located over here. And so similar to Max's comment on the earlier site plan applications, I didn't suggest for them to actually move this bike rack anywhere closer to the main entrance. Specifically just because it would be blocking the path of travel into the building. But one note that we could possibly add in that I just thought of, we could actually move this bike rack over to the little piece of path of travel over here, where it's almost like, oh my God, I lost my words here. But just a little location over here that's quite wide. We could ask them to platform. That's what I was looking for. We could ask for them to move the bicycle rack over here if you guys think it's kind of warranted to kind of just be a little bit closer to the main entrance. But like I said, no further comments past that. So I'll open it up to the committee to add in their feedback. Yeah, no further site plans here. while you guys are looking on the screen over here, you can see the actual elevations of the buildings. They have loading docks very similar to the previous ones. Here's an illustration of the south elevation. And this is just my comments. Like I said, nothing to add in just because they met the bare minimum requirements, but I'm happy to add in any consideration that the committee might have on top of the comments I just made there. Again, while you guys are reading, here you can see the actual interior of the specific site plan application. We did make comments on making sure that they have assistive listening devices in the boardrooms, that accessible seating be provided in the waiting room, accessible counters. These are all Ontario Building Code items, so they would have to meet the bare minimum for these items, and they didn't have any issues with the notes that we had for that specific piece on the first submission for the site plan application.
It would be nice if they connected it to the sidewalk network, but.
Yeah, I am curious about that. I don't know if that falls under the municipality, I guess, would own this specific road and whether or not they would add that in. I think one thing you and I both learned, Matthew, I know they wouldn't want to add in one over here just because of the turn.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense. But
if they wanted to potentially look at one on this side, I could speak with our traffic analyst for his feedback on that piece. I'd have to kind of look at the geography of this map. But like we learned, that was good that we heard from Michael Batt on that piece, is they wouldn't want to add in a crosswalk anywhere over here just for the rest of the committee due to the turn for cars over here. It would just be unsafe traffic flow, just as an FYI for everyone else.
So all these new buildings and in construction, they're putting in bike parking. Do they have plans to put bike lanes on Addison Hall?
As far as I know, I don't think so.
Separate subject though.
Yeah, separate subject though.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think I'm not a biker myself, but the way I understand the rules of the road is basically bikers are a vehicle that shares that road. And so although we might have bike lanes, they could obviously use the road. But as far as I've been aware, from what I've heard, no, there is no plan or ask for a bike lane to be provided on Addison Hall Circle or any of these located areas that we've been looking at today.
Yeah, thank you.
I will guide to push for a crosswalk for safety.
Yep, just so to paraphrase Max, just for everyone else, I think it was mentioned, I know you were saying that you would like to push for the crosswalk, correct, Max? Yep. So I made that note. Is the committee in agreement on that? I don't hear any opposition, so Max, I will write that note down, no problem. Any comments on the actual location of the bike rack? Again, there is no specific legislation on its location, so this was just a consideration. What do you guys think? Is it okay with its current location? It is spacious where it is, but we could look to move it to that platform if they own that piece of the property.
No comments?
Okay.
Right. So to go forward with this, with the comments mentioned, anyone?
Councillor Gilliland?
Councillor, the seconder?
Michelle?
Michelle? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is site plan RP Partners or Limited. That's 15286 and 15306 Leslie. So the memorandum regarding the site plan of the above address be received, and that the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on that site plan. Motion to receive.
Counselor?
Counselor, thank you. Seconder,
Matthew.
Matthew, all right. Matt, can we go forward with this?
Yep, thank you very much, John. So this is a first submission. So we're looking at something new finally. So that's good. This is our 6th site plan application. So we're on to some new stuff, which is nice. And I'm sure you guys will have some feedback on these specific items. And so for this piece, this is actually a proposal for 3 7-story residential buildings. They are each 100 units. And it's located on Leslie Street, just for orientation for yourselves as to where the site plan is. And so this is the main application. I did not include all the floors for you guys of every single building. They're very generic where they just have their units. I didn't think that you guys needed to see that. If you want to see the more detailed drawings, I can send them individually. But as you guys can see, this package was absolutely enormous to begin with. And so I left that out for this site plan. So I will go through my detailed comments for the site application. And then if you guys have any questions about the floors or anything, please go ahead and ask away. So let me just pull in my second screen here. So the first piece is we actually have a playground, or more of like a recreation area located over here. And so I asked for the developer, when they get to the stages of looking at these areas, to provide accessibility features, anything sensory or active play components. And so for them to kind of compile a list of what they would recommend for the specific site plan, because it's going to be residential, they would provide it afterwards to us. So I have asked for that to be kind of sent over to us when they get to that part of the planning stage. I mentioned in my second comment to ensure that outdoor play spaces have a ground surface that is accessible as well. And so these are both points that are mentioned in the legislation. And so they would get back to us on that when they get to that developer stage. Consideration for allocated outdoor space to have a minimum of 20% of its tables to be accessible. And so they have accessible outdoor eating areas over here. Like I just mentioned in the comment, 20% is the minimum requirement for tables to be accessible. Most of the tables I'm seeing kind of come through right now that are stationary are accessible for people to be able to roll in. Obviously, it's just more of the seating, depending on what kind of seating they usually use, whether it's square or round tables, just to ensure that there is a space for someone to come in with their assistive device. And so I've noted that comment in for the site application. Next point, I put consideration for washrooms on the main level that are served by the barrier-free path of travel to make sure that they are universal washrooms. There are Ontario Building Code requirements for storied buildings. Because this is residential, it would really just be the main floor. If they did provide washrooms, that they have to have a universal washroom. Obviously, for the residencies, they would have their personal washrooms any floors above. And so on the one public access location, I did ask for universal washrooms to be available. Consideration for a rest seating area to be provided at all outdoor entrances. And so as you can see, the middle is going to be the actual parking for visitors coming in. And so this parking is for all 3 locations for visitors coming in. They might have some visitor underground parking next to where the residential one is, but in general, the outdoor parking over here, which isn't too much, is available. And so I asked for seating areas to be provided in front of the buildings in the vestibule areas. Consideration for automatic door openers in all public access locations. They will 100% have to meet this requirement, but I put it in the regardless. Like I said, for these main entrances, they will have to have automatic door openers, but I also request them for all the public access locations. So back entrances, as you can see on building 1 that lead out to the road, that would be included in that comment, and for any of the rooftop entrances as well. Installation of proper tactile indicators at the proposed staircases. Because this is a storied building, we're asking for tactile indicators. Again, this is an Ontario Building Code requirement, but I always put it in there just because, as you guys have seen through many of the applications we've looked through together, it seems like developers kind of miss those easy pieces. So I just wanted to put it in there. Next point, consideration for seating areas provided in the buildings to also provide seating areas. And so added in that comment on top of the rest areas that we asked for on the exterior path of travel for outdoors. Last 2 comments. consideration for customer service counters and desks provided at all 3 buildings to ensure that they have an accessible location for assistive devices to be able to come in and speak with any representatives. And then the final comment we have is consideration for a barrier-free parking spot to be provided on the outdoor lot. And so the visitor parking that I was showing you does not have any of the barrier-free parking. It looks like it was all allocated downstairs in the actual underground parking. And so I requested for them to take a look at the outdoor parking for visitors to provide a barrier-free path of a barrier-free parking spot there as well. And so that was my list of comments for this site plan application. And the floor is open to the committee to ask any questions.
My question is, what does the underground parking look like? Because I know we have had problems with barrier-free underground parking.
Yeah, so for this application, this was all the way back in June, so bear with me as I'm just recollecting what it looked like. I believe this was a 2-floor underground parking lot. The barrier-free parking, I didn't comment on it in my comments over here, so just based on that, I assume that they were right next to the entrances to get to all the elevators. I'm pretty familiar with the site plan. So I believe they were right next to the actual path of travel into the building, so that wasn't an issue. But if you guys would like to take a look at the underground parking or the actual interior drawings, I'm happy to send them to the committee to take a look at after the meeting. Like I said, I didn't want to include it on this because that package was 20 to 30 pages alone for the site application. And so, yeah, it would have made it quite the file to take a look at. So that's the only reason I didn't provide it for this time. Is that okay with you, Max?
Yeah, my other comment would be evac for elevators.
Thank you, Max. I took that comment. The evacuation chairs for the flights of stairs. Yep, I can add that in.
Thank you.
No problem.
Which flight of stairs is that?
So for all the buildings, 1, 2, and 3, Max actually just recently, I think it was the last meeting that we had, Max started asking for evacuation chairs to be added for any storied buildings. Okay. This is just I think it's a great recommendation. I'm happy to add that in, Max. It's definitely not a requirement, but I think that can be a push through any future updates to the legislation that might be added in, because I think it's a simple ask and it's a health and safety piece for buildings of this size. So it's a great comment.
I think that should be a common thing with any new elevators.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add that comment in because, like I said, I do like it, Max. I'll just add it down to, you know, the packages I've created for the committee in the past with like how we kind of look through the site plan applications. Obviously, a little bit different now that we're doing things virtually and I can't provide them to you at every meeting, but I'm going to add that into actually our comments when we're looking at site plan applications to add that in as not like a mandatory legislative item, but just more of like an additional piece as a recommendation.
Just a quick comment on building number 1, the east side of it, there's a connection to a municipal sidewalk. Will that be level, ground level?
It looks like based on, sorry, I'm gonna have to come nice and close to my screen here for this one. Grading 10 point. not the best map, but based on the elevation over here of 10.89 to 9 meters over here on this setback, it doesn't look like the topography will have any issues. But John, it is a good question. I don't think there was any elevation drawings on this site plan application, but I can find that out for you. That's a good comment.
Yeah, and there's another one on building 2 on the west side. Steps to adjacent grade from building 3 ground floor.
Yeah, so on building 2, that's a staircase coming out of the back of the building. You're talking about on the complete left side of the building, right?
Right.
Yep. So that one is for sure elevated. So building 1, like I said, it looks like it is based on the numbers that I'm seeing on this site plan, that it would be level coming onto the municipal walkway. But for building 2, it is too elevated, and they do have a staircase coming out of building 2.
All right. Does anybody have any concerns about that, or? Guess not. We're good.
I can ask John if you want for building 2 to see if they could grade a ramp in. It depends on how bad the elevation is. So they can propose a fairly level ramp coming out of there, because I'm sure that might be one of the emergency exits they would also use as a building as one of the options. So I don't mind asking for the committee to see whether it's a possibility. Generally speaking, go ahead, John.
Or have one of those chairs available.
Sorry, one more time. Right. You cut off.
Have one of those chairs available.
Yep. Yeah, I can add that in.
That'd be logical, right?
Yeah.
Any other comments? Anyone? So a motion to go forward with this, and comments provided by everybody. Anybody make that motion, please? Counselor, seconder? Matt, all right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So next item is another site plan for Christian Seniors Homes, Phase 3, Meadows of Aurora, 400 William Graham Drive. So again, memorandum regarding the site plan for York Region Christian Seniors Home. Phase 3 be brought to the committee, and number 2, the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments. Matt, again, what's back to you?
Did this one get received, John? Just want to make sure.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay.
I'll put that on the floor.
Motion received. Counselor, seconder.
Yep.
Seconder, who is it?
Do we have a seconder?
I seconded Joanne.
Thank you,
Joanne. Okay, sorry. All in favor? Aye. No,
Aye.
just go ahead with it. Yeah, just go ahead with it.
Thank you, John.
Sorry.
Okay, just bear with me. I'm trying to scroll down, and we're getting to that part of the PDF where it's getting a little bit slow. So bear with me for 2 seconds. It's thinking. Is everyone on their screen seeing it's a mix for me right now between site plan application and the actual memorandum. I don't know what you guys are seeing on your side. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a middle.
Paused. Okay.
I've got it up on my screen, my separate screen.
I too have it on my separate screen, so I'm just waiting for the committee one to kind of catch up over here.
Oh,
it's thinking. There we go.
what?
I went too far, so we got to wait a second here. Come on. Oh boy. Sorry guys, I'm just waiting here. Okay, while this is loading, I can start talking. So this is actually going to be phase 3 of this specific block. Again, this is going to be a proposed residential building. There we go. Can everyone see that now? You guys see the site plan application? We're going to be looking on the last third of this site plan. This is phase 3, where you can see my mouse kind of rotating. Does everyone have that in front of themselves?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. So like I was mentioning, we're not looking at phase 1 or 2. These buildings are already built. We are strictly looking at proposed phase 3 over here. And then for a future development application, this building, phase 4, will come through. It is not on the table right now for us to comment, just so you guys have that as a note. So going through my comments. So I've actually asked for the barrier-free parking to be evenly distributed on this site plan application. I don't want to take the time to zoom in, as you guys saw how slow it was, but I will show you where the barrier-free parking is seen right now. It is right where my mouse is running. Do you guys see that? It's not on the blockade right in front of the building. It's directly on the island plaza. And so I think our recommendation would be to actually have these these barrier-free parking spots to be relocated right next to the path of travel into the vestibule of the building. Now, that being said, maybe we find a compromise where some get moved to the side that I'm speaking about and some remain over here. This is the main entrance where my mouse is currently circling. And so either or could be argued as the shortest path of travel. So before I actually go further into my comments, maybe I'll just put that on the table right now for committee members to give their feedback. What do you guys think about the barrier-free parking for this situation?
I like what you said, Matt, by moving it to that middle and then doing that combo thing.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Sounds good.
I feel like some of you guys are getting to enjoy the basketball game here, huh? Okay, so I've made that note, combo for parking, some along the building, and then the remainder to be along the island. Remainder. Perfect. Along with the barrier-free parking, I have obviously, as always, indicated that we want the vertical signage that's mandated by law for all of the barrier-free parking spots. So that is a part of the considerations that I have in my application. Making sure that we provide corresponding curb depressions, which goes to Joanne's point about other site plans that we've looked at, making sure that they have those. Consideration for automatic door openers for public access locations with proper time door delays. Installation of proper tactile indicators at the proposed staircases. So for this building, actually, they have a proposed staircase over here leading out as well. So they have both outdoor and indoor staircases. If the space permits on the exterior path of travel, consideration for rest areas to be provided. Now they do have some greenery running along this building as well. So everything that you see over here, these white trails, like I said, I don't want to zoom in too much just because you guys can see how slow it is. But where my mouse is running along, there is an exterior path of travel for green space that is level for people to take advantage and to enjoy. So if there is space for them to provide rest areas along the entire exterior path of travel, and just to ensure that appropriate signage is provided for the main entrance of the building. As you can see, there's a couple of entrances in. So the one that we were talking about at the beginning, that is the main entrance, but there is numerous paths into this building. So this is on the left side of the building. There's an entrance over here, and there is another entrance over here on the right side of the building. Now, similar to the comment we just made on the previous site plan application, these are proposed staircases due to elevation, but we could ask for the applicant to see what the distance would be to make a ramp available on these paths of travel, if it is possible. Maybe specifically the left side, just because it looks like it is a long path that just leads right into the building. So that might be an option for them to take a look at. The right side might be a little bit more difficult just because of the distance. It looks like it's basically right at the side of the building that leads straight into parking. So I don't think there's going to be enough runway for them to create a ramp over there, but we could look at the left side of the building. And so that is my comments. So I will open up the floor to the committee to add anything else in and comment on the couple proposals that I just added in as well at the end there.
Again, I would recommend a crosswalk between the island and the main entrance.
Thank you, Max. I added that in. Yes, we can add in the recommendation for a crosswalk. And I took a step ahead and I already added in your evacuation chairs as well for the proposed staircases in the building.
You think like me?
I think I got you figured out. Any other comments from the committee members?
Just a quick question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I just noticed on the very far, I'm going to call it west side, just assuming that it's
Sure.
northeast west.
Yeah.
That in that block, that far block one doesn't seem to have any accessibility from what I see. And I didn't know if that was something that was required or if it would make sense to kind of spread it out so there was some accessibility that would be reflected in each block. Seems to be all in the middle or the right one.
So are you pertaining to just like the barrier-free parking right now, or?
Just any accessible parking. There doesn't seem to be any on the far left side on that block.
Yeah, so I think it's because the main entrance, like the way I'm seeing these drawings, as well, because it's not an accessible path into the building, I wouldn't recommend putting the barrier-free parking anywhere over there, just because it's pointless for any individual with an assistive mobility device, because they would still have to use the main entrance, which is the only quote unquote barrier-free path into this building at the moment.
Gotcha. I just didn't know if there was a separate door that you could go in or whatever. Okay.
That's fair.
That makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor.
Any other comments? Put this to a vote, please. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. Next item, 6.8 on the agenda. Memorandum from from planner. This is regards to 1588 St. John Side Road, part of lot 26, concession 3. I know there's two site plans for the same address. This memorandum regarding the site plan 1588 St. John Side Road, part of lot 26, be received, and the committee members provide comments on site plan application. I get a motion to put this item on the floor.
Matthew.
Anyone? Matthew?
Yeah.
Seconder?
Counselor?
Counselor, thank you. Again, Matt, back to you.
Thank you, John. I'm just scrolling down as you guys can see, so bear with me again. It's going, it's going. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so like John said, there's going to be two site applications that are coming in on St. John Side Road for the next two. So this time we're looking at SP 2020-08. It's on 1588 St. John Side Road. This is actually a development for a self-storage building. It's going to be about, I think it was 3 stories that I was looking at in the comments. So let me just pull up the site plan application for you guys. So this one was fairly simple. Let me just pull up my comments over here. Okay, so this is actually a pretty easy site plan application. As you can see, this is self-storage. There is not a lot of parking provided over here in general, just because people are kind of going in and out as quick as possible to just get their items either into the building or out of the building. So they do meet all the requirements for barrier-free parking. I did ask for them. It's hard again to tell with the screens over here, so I apologize that I have to just visually explain it to you guys. But on this side of the building, there is, as you can see, a path of travel. And so I know Matthew likes to make the comment of just having these paths of travel as connected as possible. So I did make the recommendation that between this platform located over here on the proposed building, that they do consider an exterior path of travel going across over to this area. Now, I don't know that they'll strongly consider this, as the entrance, quote unquote, to the building is on the opposite side, which they do have connected with a barrier-free path of travel over here through parking. But just as an FYI, I did put that in as a consideration. Second point I put in was consideration for automatic door openers as per the Ontario Building Code with proper time door delays. Installation of proper tactile indicators at the proposed staircases. Max, I'm going to beat you to the punch on making sure that the evacuation chairs are also located at the proposed staircases in this building. So I will add that comment in right away. But past that, this was a fairly simple application. Nothing too complicated, no paths of travel around the building itself. As you can see, it's pretty much just landscaping, fully surrounding up until where we have the parking that leads into the designated opening, which I'm highlighting right now with a mouse. But past that, there is nothing else that I caught as a concern. So I will open it up to the committee for any further commenting.
I see underneath the snow storage area, they have a proposed walkway. That's good.
Yep. And they've highlighted a proposed snow storage area, which is nice too.
Probably Joanne's favorite thing.
Yeah.
Sorry?
We were just mentioning that they've indicated where their snow storage is on this location, and it's away from the barrier-free parking. And so we know you like that comment. So they've highlighted that in this.
So they have two. Any other comments?
Okay.
No further comments. Call vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? So that one carries. On to 6.9 on the agenda. Again, this is 1588 St. John's Side Road, blocks 1 and 2, power lot 26. So a memorandum regarding site plan application, 1588 St. John's Side Road, blocks 1 and 2, be received, and that the Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments on the site plan. A motion to put the item on the floor. Anyone?
Matt.
Matt. Okay, thank you. Seconder?
Joanne?
Joanne, thank you. Again, back to you, Matt.
Thank you very much, John. So this site plan application is as well on St. John's Side Road. It's at 1588. This one specifically is actually going to be for a restaurant building. It's Harvey's. I don't know if anyone here enjoys Harvey's, but that's what's being proposed for this specific subdivision for this specific lot. So we're going to come down to the actual proposed site plan application here, and so I can go through the comments with you. So first one I had, just as a general comment, this was fairly well constructed. Again, no issues. I think restaurants in general, just because they're usually franchise locations, have a pretty good understanding of what the expectations are in terms of being barrier free. But for comments, I put down consideration for our automatic door openers, again, as per the Ontario Building Code, to ensure that they have proper timed door delays. If there is space on the exterior path of travel, again, it looks like they're meeting the bare minimums here. So to Max's point on previous comments, I did ask for rest areas to be provided if possible. appropriate signage for the accessible entrance, which in this case, I've highlighted over here with my mouse. It looks like they're only proposing one entrance over here at the front. The barrier-free parking is also situated away from the traffic flow of people coming into the drive-through, which you can see is on the top of the specific site plan. So they would be coming around and leaving over here. So anyone coming in to park in the barrier-free parking would not have any issues with immediate traffic, either blocking or trying to get through the drive-through in that area. Consideration for the customer service counters to have an allocated accessibility spot. This is obviously an important highlight for a restaurant just because there's obviously going to be a ton of customers coming through. With the way COVID's situated, we'll see how much that changes in the future. But as of right now, the way things are going, the expectation is there. And then finally, for my last comment, consideration for accessible seating to be provided throughout the restaurant as well. And so again, there is minimum requirements for this, 20% like we normally speak about. And so that is normally for outdoor space. And so interior space, like I mentioned before, that falls under the Ontario Building Code, which is a little bit out of our jurisdiction, but I've made the comment in there regardless. And so that is all the comments I had for this specific site. Again, this one was fairly easy and not too many issues, but I will open up the floor to the committee for further commenting or questions.
Well, that's not me. Any comments?
I realize that there's only barrier free parking. I did look at the legislation today, and there over 13 parking spots. So I'm wondering if they are meeting the required amount of barrier-free parking.
The proposed piece for this is 22 spots, and then I'm just loading in to just pull up the legislation so I can give you the actual reading on the barrier free, just because they have different pieces in the legislation in regards to parking for the amounts of spots. So just bear with me while I quickly pull that up for you, Max. There you go. I live in this legislation so much that I found it already. There we are. Okay, so for this, for between 13 and 100 parking spaces, they would have to have 4%. So 4% of 22 is one spot max. So 0.88. So rounding it up, it's up to one barrier-free parking spot. So they are correct. And in this case, they did provide the type A as they only have the one spot. And so as per the legislation, they have to provide the larger space.
Sorry.
No. That's a good question.
Thought it was weird that they only have one, but
No problem, Max. It was a good question. Any other comments from the committee?
The street going along, I see one that says Leslie. So the other street's St. John Side Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't see any connections to the like from the plaza to the sidewalk, so.
Let me zoom in just to double check. Let's see how long this takes. I saw it. Hold on, Matthew, give me 1 second. So this is your sidewalk mat right here, right along my mouse. I know it's in between all the lines there, but as you can see where I'm following it,
Yeah.
that's the path of travel along St. John's Side Road.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they have a path along the road. There isn't really an opportunity for them to connect. As you can see, it's basically the drive-through right along the side there. So that's the only path of travel into the specific plaza.
Okay.
Good question. Any other comments from the committee?
There are no others. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries. Over to back to the agenda 6.1. This is from minor site plan approval for Primal Healthcare, 110 Industrial Parkway North. So the memorandum regarding the application for minor site plan approval, 110 Industrial Parkway. We did see this one before, I believe. The Accessibility Advisory Committee provide comments. So can I get someone to move that we bring this forward on the floor? Anyone?
Counselor?
Counselor? Seconder?
Haley.
Haley, thank you. And Matt, over to you once again.
Thank you, John. This is our last site plan application. So good job, guys. I hope I keep you for one more. So John is correct. We have looked at the site plan application before. This is actually on 110 Industrial Parkway North. So this was the site plan that we were previously looking at where they had an additional building coming into the site plan and the proposed parking. And then I think from my memory, they went back on the parking and now they're sending in the minor site application approval just for the additional 52 parking spaces for this lot. So we would not be commenting on any of the actual buildings, paths of travel. In this case, they're strictly looking at the parking. And so actually to your comment previously, Matt, on when we have authority to kind of make comments on like what we see as a retrograde, this is a good example where we're making that comment. And so because we are seeing that they are adding in the 52 parking spots over here, even though in this specific site plan, you guys can all see that this proposed area is quite far away from the actual main buildings that people would be going into. So you can see here's a main entrance with some accessible parking. You have another main entrance over here. I've still noted that because they've added in an additional 52 spots, that the barrier-free parking for the plaza as a whole also needs to be added in. So I'm asking for 6 barrier-free parking spots total for this plaza, which meets the requirements of the legislation, now with the 52 parking spots added in. Past that, I didn't comment on the site plan application as it was strictly pertaining to parking. And so I only made a comment on the barrier-free parking. And so I really added this in just to kind of let you know that what we were discussing in previous applications about them adding in the parking, I have made those comments in now that they've officially put in the site plan application. And so I don't have any further comments past that, but I'll open up the floor in case there's any questions. I know we talked about this previously, so the committee is open to ask away.
Any other comments? Anyone?
I didn't think we would get any comments on this one, John.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Okay.
simple on this piece.
So call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that one carries. Item 6.11, roundtable discussion regarding the accessibility advisory plan for the town for 2018 to 2024.
Does this need to be received as well, Linda?
It depends if there's any comments or anything to add to this.
I will have comments.
Okay.
Oh,
If I could just, I just wanted to ask a question, if that's okay.
Yep, so let's
Yep.
receive it then, John.
Can I have someone receive it, please?
Sure.
Counselor, is that you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Seconder, please. Haley, great.
Counselor,
Okay,
I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, the quick question I had was, I know that we were all eager and excited to kind of get out there and do this assessment with all these lists and kind of do an assessment on the town facilities. And I didn't know if perhaps now that we're in stage 3 and we are exterior, if we're able to implement that while the weather's still nice.
I am going to go to, if that is what, so I would just be wary just based on the physical conditions of some of our members just being a little bit more vulnerable, whether or not people want to meet in person. So we could have that discussion and I can take it to the town to see whether or not they would permit a group of our size coming through the facility on top of, now that to your point, Counselor, we are open to the public, whether we're just gonna mess with the ratios that they're allowing in. I can ask, but I'm curious whether the rest of the committee members would even be interested in doing it. We could explore alternative ways of doing it. I don't mind actually proposing myself walking through the buildings and doing it virtually, where I can just film it through my phone and just zoom you guys in to kind of walk through the site plans, not site plans, but the actual site locations. But I am happy to discuss a couple of options for this. That was actually one of the points I was going to ask, is how the committee would like to look at the facilities, because we do need to start looking at our annual plan and future items to be adding in for future capital projects.
Mm-hmm. And even if, depending on individually how you feel, I mean, on an exterior level is different than an interior level.
Yeah,
so
we would have to look at both.
More people may be willing to do the exterior, I guess, assessment.
Yep.
Maybe some people not so comfortable in the interior, and like you're saying, like the walkthrough, the virtual walkthrough. But other than that, I'd be curious as to whether or not anybody's game, because I think that if we're going to do something externally, you want to capture it before the snow flies.
So I don't want to put anyone on the spot. This is obviously their personal decision. So I'd like to propose to do this through email. I'll individually email all of the members of the committee just to kind of see what the preference is for everybody, and they can express any concerns or adjustments they would like to see. And then we can go ahead with trying to find this. But I agree with Councillor, now that we are back in after the summer break, that we do go ahead with some form of our facility visits in order to take a look at our accessibility plan. Is everyone okay with my proposal?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Well, my comments, everybody has different needs. Everybody's different. Haley looks at things differently than, say, Max and Raquel.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and to capture that on a walkthrough is like photos and so on.
It's nice when everybody's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I know
Yep.
these are time, but you know, I look at it through my daughter's eyes. How do we get around barriers for her, right?
Yeah.
So I got to consider everybody, and everybody's different. Everybody has different needs, right? So I'm a little stuck on that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's a
I
good
agree.
comment, John.
Yeah.
And I agree, but I think out of just the fairness to all individuals, again, not to put anyone on the spot, I just want to keep it confidential with everyone's
Sure. Yep.
decision as to how they would like to proceed with this specific, just because obviously different circumstances right now with COVID. So I just want to respect everyone's personal decision on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments they'd like to add in? And then I can go ahead and discuss the operating and capital pieces of this annual plan.
I just had a question, Matt, if you were able to find any of those masks and what's kind of happening with it.
Yep. So we did take a look at it, Haley. Thanks for bringing that up. Our committee that's overlooking the finances of this are okay with clear masks. I have sent a couple of other options that are a little bit cheaper. the good thing is I sit on a couple of committees in Ontario that discuss with other municipalities, organizations that are looking into this as well. And so I've received a couple of different options, including their costs that I have sent over to our committee that's kind of overlooking this specific emergency as a proposal. I actually wanted to bring back some of the feedback I received about it too. So while I agree, Haley, that it is nice for visual impairments, a lot of the feedback I've actually been receiving, I'm hoping maybe a couple other committee members based on their research or what they've experienced might be able to kind of add comments in on this. But I was hearing that it actually creates a lot of auditory barriers because it absorbs a lot of sound because of the material that's used to make the mask clear. And so although it makes it a little bit more barrier free for visual impairments, it makes it a little bit more difficult for auditory. And more of the population, it's hard to say obviously, but with our senior population, for example, auditory might be a little bit more common as a priority versus the visual piece. Now, the second piece as well is in any of our interacting locations, such as town hall, we have added in plexiglass between our customer service representatives and the public. And so therefore there wouldn't be that barrier of having a mask whenever we're having interactions with the public. The only individuals where we might kind of encounter that issue would be mostly with like bylaw. And so I don't think it would be an issue to get a couple of clear masks for specific outdoor town members that might be interacting with it. But I don't know that I would make the recommendation for all town or municipal staff to kind of be working with that just because there's no value. And then maybe we actually take a look at, maybe councillor can speak to this piece. I don't know how the proceedings are for when they're meeting in council chambers, whether there's any talk about the types of masks or whether you do have to wear masks when you guys come into general committee meetings. But I'll let the councillor touch in on that one piece there.
Yeah, so as far as the protocols for us, masks are mandatory for inside. So when you're up and about and all around, as far as when we're actually sitting at our actual chamber desk, it's recommended to be wearing the mask, but most of us choose to wear it. But because we have the plexiglass and we're kind of our own little cubby, we can take it off, obviously, when we're speaking, and some of us do choose to keep it off in between. But other than that, as soon as you get up to walk around to within the facility, it is mandatory to wear that mask.
Okay. And when you guys are speaking, I think if I caught it correctly, you mentioned that you guys take off the masks for speaking?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So Haley, that was the update I have for the clear masks.
Cool.
Sorry, Haley, I think I heard you coming in there. I don't know if you
No, that's
speaking up. Oh, okay.
That's great. That makes sense. It was just, everyone's wearing all of those. And from the feedback I've gotten from music therapists and those of us who are working, they've been using it and haven't had too much of a problem. But it also depends, as you said, what material, how big is that clear part to what it's going to do. But I think it's reasonable if there's plexiglass and they're not wearing a mask or have the opportunity to take off the mask at most places if there is someone, and then just have a few for bylaw if they're interacting with someone outside. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, so like I said, our main public interaction areas are fully accessible in the sense of making sure that we have the plexiglass. And then I have already sent in new options for clear masks for the committee to take a look at. So we have things in place already, and they're already considering going above and beyond with the additional masks. So I can get back to you with their decision when they make it in the next couple of weeks. As of right now, staff are not returning. I think it was November 2nd, as of right now, was the last piece that we have received from the CAO and council direction on staff return. That might be updated. We'll see in the coming weeks, but that's the next time we are scheduled to come back into facilities.
Can I make a comment? It's Joanne.
Yes, go ahead, Joanne.
One of the big things with the masks also is that what you have to do to use it, because the three choirs that I belong to, it looks like, and we've been told that because of our large breaths and breathing out and stuff like that, we're not going to be probably going back for another year. And all three choirs have been told that. And they're all from different areas. One's from Aurora, one's from Newmarket, and one of them's the Voices of Joy. so it sounds like that's how they're keeping what they're doing with us. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because it's a big difference in how you're breathing and pushing out the air.
Yep. Thank you for your comments, Joanne. Oh, go ahead, Max. I think that was Max.
I actually never seen a person wear a clean mask, but I think they'll be wearing it at my church, so I can comment them.
So just to paraphrase for Max, you didn't interact with anyone with a clear mask yet, but you think you might be encountering in one of your future interactions. You can comment once you have an experience with it, correct? Yeah. Thank you, Max. Any other committee comments? No? Okay.
No.
Thank you. All right. So for the accessibility plan for what we've already had planned for 2020, I'm just going to give a quick breakdown of where we kind of stand on upcoming items. The door operators that we requested to be put in place for the Aurora Family Leisure Complex for both the male and female change rooms going into the public pool. We ordered those back in May or June, and they are still on delay because of COVID. And the next expectation for us to receive this, I just got an update this week, was for September 30th. So this is the second delay. So we're hoping that September 30th is when we do receive them. And then the installation would most likely take in October. They're fairly quick with the actual installation process. Originally, I was hoping that we would have them ready for when we reopen to the public. But obviously there was some delays due to COVID. But just so you guys have an update on that, we also went ahead with changing the scope to ensure that we're using wave sensors now because of COVID. So previously, we would be using push door operators. We decided to go ahead with using a little bit more of the operating budget in order to use the wave sensors just because of our current situation. So that was reflected in our budget. We have availability, and I'll give you guys a breakdown on what we have left for the remainder of the year at the very end. For the railing that was requested, I think it was Joanne that requested for a railing proposal for the spa at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex. Is that right, Joanne?
The hot tub?
Yeah, yep, for the hot tub. And so I have had PPL, which is one of the aquatic resources that we use, take a look at it, and they're estimating around $1,000 to put that in, which we do have room for in our operating budget. So I just wanted, again, estimate, they're going to come in and do measurements in the next 2 weeks or so, and I can give you a hard cost on what they're expecting for it to be, but the preliminary discussions were like 1,500 would be absolute maximum, but they were thinking more like 1,000 or under. So I just wanted to run it by the committee quickly. Now that we're meeting back, we do have it in our budget, whether you guys are okay with me proceeding with it. If that went through, we would still be at about $4,200 remaining for Q3 and Q4 of 2020. I guess the easier question, is there any opposition to us going ahead with Joanne's request on this?
No.
Okay. So I will go ahead with a quote for that piece. As long as it stays within those areas, I'll proceed. If it's something much higher, then I will contact the committee just to make sure they're okay with the funds going that way. But otherwise, I will go ahead with it. And the final piece I wanted to update you guys on, which is great news. I know we've been talking a lot about facility accessibility design standards over the last 2 years about the town of Aurora going ahead and building our own requirements. And a way for consultants to see what our expectations are as a bare minimum as a town of Aurora municipality. And so I've gone ahead, we have completed our FQ. So we've received our quote from all bidders for the facility accessibility design standards. I think procurement is in the stages as of right now in terms of releasing the documents over to the winner of the bids. I don't have that information quite yet. But in the next week or so, we should have the paperwork sent over to the winner of the bid, and we would actually start going ahead with designing our personal design standards in the next 12 months. And so we are going to be working on it for 12 months. That would be the official schedule. So it would begin this month in September, where we have consultation teams working with town staff and the Accessibility Advisory Committee on all of your comments that you would like to see. This would be regarding interior and outdoor pieces of the design standards. So we'd be commenting on our parking, our exterior paths of travel, what we expect to see in buildings, parks, paths, anything like that. And so you guys will most definitely have an opportunity to provide comments on what you would like to see in the plans. You'll have opportunity to take a look at the product provided and then comment on it again as well. So I will definitely be seeking your advice and interests in the facility accessibility design standards. If anyone wants to start doing research ahead of time, I would take a look at some of our neighboring municipalities. London, Mississauga, and Ottawa I think even Burlington are all fantastic examples of leaders in accessibility, especially with design standards. They were the ones leading with actually building these. So if you ever want to take a look ahead of time, on your own time, you're more than welcome to take a look at those municipalities. And so, like I said, we should be starting that in the next month. So just to kind of get your taste buds wet for this, you guys will be reached out to in the next coming months with an opportunity to sit down with the consultants and provide feedback.
Matt, can I just ask if there was like a report or something or some update that was included in the agenda? I just don't see it on the original agenda.
No, so these specific items, they don't, like, it's just booked in under accessibility plan. So I just provide updates. It doesn't come in the agenda, like showing which items we're going to be talking about. Okay,
because I just noticed you're talking about some of the capital budget stuff, and I know we never really got that breakdown because of COVID and all this stuff kind of happened. I just didn't know if maybe that was kind of encapsulated into this conversation.
Yeah, so last time we took a look at the operating plan when we had the committee meeting. I think our last meeting was in June. So we did take a look at the spreadsheet there. And so all the items that I was speaking about, the committee, I think everyone was here. I don't know if anyone else was missing. I think it was just Counselor that didn't attend that one.
Yes, I think I actually read the minutes and that's when you had it. So I apologize.
Yes,
I didn't see
so
it.
we had it over there and the committee was fine with the additions.
Yes, I missed out. My daughter had a graduation that day. So.
That's fair. So that was updates for the capital projects and operational projects. And to your point with capital projects, it's also in the annual plan, Rachel. So if you ever want to kind of skim through what, I think it was your term previously, John, that built the current plan, right? It was the 2018 to 2024 plan, right? Yeah. So it was the previous committee that built it. We will be, as this committee, reviewing and adding in, like I said, at the end of this year for any additional projects for future ones as well. So we will be updating that actually in future meetings together in the next 2 months or so.
Awesome.
And that was it for my end on updates from the plan. Is there any questions or concerns?
I know I talked about this a lot, but I was talking to Matt and James about Evacuation Chairs in our town of Aurora facilities. Is this something that we want to go forward with?
So just to whether or not we would consider providing evacuation chairs for our current public buildings, correct? The municipal buildings?
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm happy to add that onto the list for me to provide a quote to the committee. I'll take a look at all the facilities that have staircases and how many locations we would have to look at it. And then I'm happy to bring that number over to you guys for the October meeting to decide if we would like to go ahead with the operating budget and see whether or not we want to do that for this year, 2020, or if that's something we would consider for 2021 based on the cost. So I can bring that number over to you for the next meeting, Max.
Always, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other pieces from anyone that they would like for me to kind of research?
So when's our meeting in October?
I don't know off the top of my head. Linda, you're my expert on that piece.
The 14th.
14th?
Yes.
So that's the week after the holiday, right?
The Wednesday after, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I probably, in almost all likelihood, won't be able to attend. I have surgery the week before.
Okay, thank you for letting us know, Joanne. We'll keep you in touch then if you can't make it to the committee. We can give you a phone call on that piece when you're ready.
Yeah, and Linda, if somebody can call me, that would be great.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, if there's no other comments, that would be it for this piece, John.
All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Haley.
Haley, jump right up there. Second?
I'll second that.
Joanne beat you to it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nope. All right.
Don't you dare, the Raps are on. I got to go watch.
Yeah, they're winning by 4 with 4 minutes left.
Yeah, we're almost there for a game 7, guys.
Hey, last 4 minutes are
Every-
left.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice seeing everybody.